I love immersive sims. But honestly, the more I talk about immersive sims on YouTube, the more I find a few things to be universally true. Not only is the label of immersive sim pretty much meaningless to all but a fairly small, hardcore group of genre enthusiasts, but most of the rest of you are probably already clicking off the video. So wait, regardless of what you want to call it, what if I told you that there is a game called Shadows of Doubt that is one of the most impressive and ambitious games that I've ever played in any genre, and it's not even done yet. Are you paying attention now? Yeah, I thought so. In truth, the immersive sim genre has undergone an extremely quiet resurgence in the past few years, with even more promising games still yet to release. But it hasn't exactly led to an overwhelming rehabilitation of the genre tag's reputation, despite mostly producing great and well-received titles over the years. For one, it's a bit confusing to most people, to the point where a look at the tag on the Steam store will not only show you almost exactly 0 actual immersive sims, but will probably lead to more confusion about what the hell the term even means in the first place. Promising upcoming games continue to be in basically indefinite development, and even some excellent release titles, like Control-Alt-Ego for example, have unfortunately fallen mostly on deaf ears. But yet, the immersive sim persists. Which brings us to Shadows of Doubt. Now this was a game that wasn't even on my radar until this month's NextFest brought a new demo for the game along with it. Go figure. As far as I understand it, the game has been in active development since at least 2018 and worked on by predominantly one person, Cole Jeffries, with a small team of others. And despite sporting a coming soon release date on Steam and being a little rough around the edges in its current state, without a doubt in my mind, Shadows of Doubt, even in its time-limited 90-minute demo, is already one of the most impressive games that I've ever experienced, both in scope and attention to detail. So let's talk about it. In as concise of an explanation as I can give this game without using the aforementioned controversial genre tag, Shadows of Doubt is a highly, almost fetishistically detailed detective simulator where the mundane details of the lives of the people involved in your cases can lead to huge and sometimes endless rabbit holes of information en route to, if all goes well, solving a murder. At least that's the premise of the case the demo hands you. And as if that wasn't already impressive enough, this all takes place in a procedurally generated city with the places, names, details, and identities of all the people involved randomly shuffled around and twisted in unique ways each time. At least this was my experience through a couple runs through the demo. Although the basic details of the case were the same each time, each playthrough took me to different locations and to meet different characters. With games being ever increasingly obsessed with becoming endlessly replayable, whether it's indie roguelikes with thousands of things to grind for and unlock, or live service games that keep their hooks in you for thousands of hours to milk you for all you're worth, I think what impresses me most about Shadows of Doubt's procedural nature is that it not only seems like it just works way better than it should, somehow, basically against all odds, but with how detailed the world is, I genuinely think the practically endless possibilities provided by this framework, for once, do actually enhance the quality and replayability of the game. It's hard to hammer home just how much of the experience of Shadows of Doubt is intertwined with this fully simulated world without just playing it for yourself. But to offer just a few examples, I was in an apartment building with 12 stories in which there was probably well over 50, maybe even close to 100 apartments total, with each hosting residents with their own lives, possessions, little tidbits and details about who they are. At one point, I was escaping a pursuer. I went in through the vents to an apartment on the story below. I stood unseen in the kitchen while a couple was having an argument about something mundane going on in their lives. Again, the dialogue wasn't extraordinarily deep, but even just the fact that this was something that I could stumble onto in a random apartment, in a random building in this world, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the murder mystery that I was embroiled in. And on top of that, being organically just generated into this world was absolutely mind-boggling to me. Later on, I was trying to gain entry to the apartment of a person who had recently been seen with the murder victim. I was going to scan around for their fingerprints to see if I could match them to the unidentified prints found at the crime scene. I crawled through a vent and into an apartment, but I didn't realize until after I had spent a few minutes fruitlessly collecting fingerprints that I was in the wrong apartment. And yet, I could still find these random people's fingerprints on drawers and personal objects and light switches, and it's all just there, even though it has no bearing on the case. Or did it? I don't even know, because I didn't even end up solving this one. Probably not, but just the fact that seemingly irrelevant information about random people could have the potential to come back around and be useful to the case was what kept me poking around, collecting info, and sticking my nose in places it probably shouldn't be. In yet another case, I was trying to collect information from a shop owner, so I snuck into the store's back room to dig through his computer, but I accidentally dropped into the office of the shop next door, and I didn't realize until I had already dug through the owner's emails. And I found conversations back and forth with his wife or girlfriend about mundane things like groceries. And again, all this information for someone seemingly unrelated to the case that I was working on, which again is really impressive if you can ignore the fact that the computer is half clipping through an electrical box. I could go on and on with examples of moments like this because frankly, the game delivers tons of them and so effortlessly. Powered only by your own curiosity and willingness to stick your nose where it doesn't belong, which the game will encourage you to do often. And all this stuff isn't even really the game. I mean, it's part of it and it contributes to what makes it so impressive, but I've hardly even talked about the core gameplay at all. This is just the effort that has gone into creating a realistic feeling world, containing people with fully simulated lives, all for the main premise of solving complex mysteries to just exist in. So the demo for Shadows of Doubt is time limited at 90 minutes. And I don't mean time limited in the sense that it's available for a while and then it gets taken down. It's time limited like a fucking convention demo, in that it just ends after a set amount of time, which I was honestly really annoyed at first. Honestly, indie devs, speaking generally here, and as a dude who just plays games and knows precious little about development, if you're gonna release a demo, just release it. Don't take it down unless you're replacing it with something better or just releasing the game. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not a fan of time limiting either. I'm okay with being cut off at a relatively arbitrary gameplay milestone. I don't expect you to give me the whole game for free, but as it is with Shadows of Doubt, the 90-minute time limit ends up offering just about enough time to solve one murder if you're pretty diligent about following leads, which I think is good, but because of that, the way I see it, the demo also could have just ended when you solve the murder instead of after a pretty arbitrary 90 minutes. It led to an annoying situation where I was rushing to City Hall to turn in my form as my time expired, and I had to save scum to even have a chance to turn it in. Admittedly, for a game as complex and open as Shadows of Doubt, I don't really see a good solution short of just giving away possibly too much of your game for free. So I'm somewhat sympathetic to the developers in this specific case, but I did feel like the time limit caused me to play in a way that was counter to how I would have personally enjoyed to play the game, especially as I started to get in a bit of a time crunch. I'm happy at least that reloading saves and starting new files walks back the timer accordingly, so you can still experience quite a bit of the demo and even experiment with different paths and seeds and stuff like that, which is what I ultimately did. The demo provides both a procedural generation option with limited settings, as well as a pre-generated city made expressly for the purpose of the demo. I tried out both to see what kinds of differences I noticed, and while the two seeds took me to different locations and to meet different people, I didn't notice much of a difference in terms of quality. It may have just been confirmation bias, but a few more times in the procedural world, I noticed oddities like an electric box clipping through a computer screen, a vent entrance that was inaccessible behind a shower door, but all in all, the experience was remarkably consistent between the two options. The game starts you off in your apartment, tutorializes some basic concepts like interacting with the world, picking up objects, and picking locks, and then kind of just sets you off, but not before introducing you to one of the game's most important features, and where a bulk of your murder solving will take place, the pin board. This is where you will collect evidence and find connections between things, and it is 100% every bit as fun and insane as it sounds to slowly watch your rabbit holes and conspiracies evolve. Or not, because sometimes you'll find a note that your victim went to meet with Carol from HR, and you'll spend days investigating Carol from HR, only to track her down to her office just to discover that there is no Carol from HR. Sorry, I'm not sure where that came from. Your case will live and die by your pin board. You at least have the opportunity to pin all evidence that you find, no matter how mundane or useless. And keeping track of notes and interactions can actually help you discover new leads and keep track of people of interest and so on. And ultimately, the evidence collected here will be used to help convict your suspect. I found the pin board a bit clunky control-wise at first, and I had trouble knowing what was important to pin and keep track of. But as I progressed, I wished I had remembered certain details, and I started to realize the value of just slapping pretty much everything on the pin board. And just little things like forgetting people's names or addresses or what times certain events happened at and so on, while seemingly minor at the time, ended up having big impacts on how I would go about the case. Leads can organically run cold as well. Due to the simulated nature of the game and the fact that you can collect pretty much anything as evidence, not everything is important or relevant, and even things seemingly related like a restaurant that the victim ate at might turn up with no useful information. Be that because the people who knew anything just wouldn't talk and wouldn't let you snoop around, or because there was actually just nothing to learn. In fact, my first case ended up running cold because my only good lead ended up being a dead end, because as I was snooping through the security system of the diner that the victim had been at recently, the security system went off and the building's auto turrets just started committing mass slaughter of innocents, including pretty much anyone who might have had any information on my victim. And I still have no idea why. What is going on? This has nothing to do with me, right? What? Wait, what? Ah! What? Why are everyone but me's getting shot? Wait, did I fuck something up? Did I do this? It's shooting through the wall? What is going on? At first I thought this was a glitch, but with how intricately this world is simulated, I honestly don't know. And I think the fact that I don't know is genuinely kind of cool. Could it have been that me fiddling with the computer set it off? Did a robber coincidentally come in while I wasn't looking and trip it? Is it possible that the security system just glitches sometimes, like on purpose? And I feel like I can't stress enough, stuff like this is just the tip of the iceberg with this game. Through my 2 playthroughs, I saw so much crazy and unexpected stuff that either would or wouldn't have any real bearing on my investigations, and I still continued to be surprised all the time by the seemingly random things that would happen or turn up during my exploration. Now, don't get me wrong, the heavily simulated nature of the world still led to quite a bit of jank. I can't stress enough that this game is already really impressive with how much it's doing and doing well, and I can overlook a little bit of rough edges. And the weirdness never really extended beyond just some charming jank, but I could at least identify a few things that I'd like to see improved before the game launches in full, with AI being perhaps the biggest one. Again, giving the benefit of the doubt that it is a tall and maybe even impossible task to simulate a full city worth of AI to a realistic degree, I actually didn't have too much of a problem with the standard schedules and pathfinding of NPCs. It was only when they broke off rails whenever something out of the ordinary happened that it started to show its shortcomings. Like when the diner's security system started going off, people didn't really take cover or run to safety. It felt like they kind of just one by one ran into the turrets and got riddled with holes. And this moment could have been a cool and organic twist in the course of my investigation, but how awkwardly the AI handled it just made me feel like it was a glitch, or the game was at the very least not prepared to handle a twist like this. Another area I feel could use some improvement is just the combat in general. It feels a little half-baked, but coupled with the pretty wonky alerted AI, it makes for a pretty unfun experience at the moment. Basically, the way combat works is that when you enter hand-to-hand combat, you get this bar above your opponent that will indicate when they'll attack, and countering at the right time will stagger them a bit. You can also throw punches of your own, which will chip down your opponent. The way the combat was explained almost made it sound like it could be ended quickly with a takedown by executing a parry, but I never once figured out or experienced this, and I wish I had, because the experience of throwing punches and blocking them when they hit you is just not very fun or engaging at the moment. It lasts a bizarrely long time, even with both participants getting blows in pretty consistently, and it just looks extremely silly for a game that is otherwise more or less going for something pretty grounded. I don't have all the answers, but I do wish the combat was a little faster paced and got to the point a little bit more quickly. For a game in which there's so many ways to avoid combat, I do wish that the rare occasion that things end up in combat was a little bit more palatable and climactic. I dreaded combat mainly because it was often actually the most boring outcome gameplay-wise to what was otherwise pretty tense and interesting situations. Now, rest assured, this barely detracted from my overall enjoyment of the game. I do think there's merit to discouraging combat in a game like this, and as it was, I only got into combat about once per each case, since if there was a way to avoid it, you can guarantee I would at least try. That said, I found myself avoiding it anyways because, as we've already seen, sometimes things have ripple effects that can change the outcome of your cases, and additionally, it's worth mentioning that you can purchase weapons like guns that I'm sure would change the flow of combat substantially, but I found it hard to save up enough money within the limited time frame of the demo to both acquire a gun and enough ammo to actually fire it. Your mileage may vary, but just to clarify, I can't really speak to how these feel in combat at the moment. And either way, subduing people through melee combat still feels like your best bet most of the time. It's quieter, and leaving a trail of bodies on your investigation is probably not in your best interest most of the time. I just hope to see combat improved and honestly streamlined a bit before full release either way. The ripple effects of engaging in combat in such a deeply simulated world are enough to encourage me to avoid it as much as I possibly can. But when I do need to resort to it, I just prefer it to be a little quicker, snappier, and clearer in how it functions. My second key criticism of this game is a little bit harder to pin down, and it ultimately might be there if I had just been able to dig a little deeper than the 90-minute demo allowed for. But while finding connections and clues and solving mysteries is undoubtedly an incredibly fun and rewarding experience in Shadows of Doubt, it was when it came to the actual face-to-face dialogue that I found something to be slightly lacking. To offer a little context, when you solve a murder, you have a form. Basically, you'll be asked to name the person you think did it and connect things like evidence and the murder weapon to them. In my one solved case, I got the person right, but I was unable to produce enough evidence to link to them. This is all right. You still get paid for the things you got correct, but ultimately, if I had had just a little more time, I probably could have connected these things as well, rather than just making an educated guess. Now, the issue here was that I never felt like I got to really know anything about the people involved in these cases on any sort of personal level, because I wasn't really encouraged to. Now, with so many people in this world, I wasn't necessarily expecting complex dialogue trees for every single person, but it felt like the only way to learn anything about the people involved in the investigations was to poke around, read notes, look through their belongings, etc. My face-to-face conversations would almost never produce anything of much value or interest. It was honestly kind of like talking to a brick wall. Most people wouldn't even offer up their name, even after bribing them, and I couldn't seem to find any alternative path that would allow me to get this info by way of face-to-face conversation. And everyone said pretty much the same exact things when pressed about these questions. It got to the point where I pretty much just stopped even bothering to ask people questions because it was just a complete waste of my limited time. That stuff might be there with a little more pressing and questioning, or perhaps actions outside of dialogue could have made me more trustworthy to the people I was questioning, somehow. But the demo simply does not give you the time to explore this system in much depth, if there even is more to explore there. Because I still wanted to solve the cases before my time limit was up, I elected to not engage with it as much as I maybe would have liked. So as a result, I would feel pretty disconnected from the actual story of the murder as I investigated it. You could find all these really interesting tidbits about people by snooping around, but when you talk to their face, they just felt one-dimensional. I basically convicted someone for murder in my second playthrough of the demo without even really knowing what kind of relationship they had to the victim or what their motive was. Now, granted, I rushed to turn in my form with some gaps in my knowledge still, which I probably wouldn't have done if I wasn't on a forced time crunch. But in general, I'd love it if it was encouraged to figure this type of thing out for the purpose of your investigation, perhaps for a greater monetary reward. Again, that type of stuff might be there, but as the objectives and time limit of the demo didn't prompt me to dig deeper into understanding who the victim or suspect really were, I didn't really bother. And my few attempts to engage in dialogue with people involved in my investigations delivered extremely underwhelming results compared to what just snooping around could uncover. I can't stress enough, though, that in the face of just how well this game works overall and how impressive in scope it is, I feel these are minor and fixable issues that don't detract majorly from all that I feel this game is doing really well at the end of the day. But nonetheless, it'd be nice to see these areas of the game get a little attention before full release, as I'm sure they will. At this point, I've gone the bulk of the video without saying the I word, but I'm gonna bring it back around. One of my favorite things about immersive sims that have led to them becoming one of my favorite genres is all the little details, the environmental storytelling, and the ability for these stories and moments to evolve organically through gameplay. And part of what makes these games so difficult to make and make right is just how much involvement each of these gameplay systems seem to require for even just a tiny little thing that may have no real bearing on some people's experience. And on the topic of experience, they sometimes trend so esoteric and complex that they're not always palatable to the average gamer, or as interesting as games with less complex mechanics and simulated worlds, or at least less effort put into making these things believable, since the average player probably won't notice or care how in-depth these mechanics are. I think this is what strikes me the most about the insane potential that Shadows of Doubt has. Not only has the intricately detailed world been pulled off amazingly, but in a procedural and practically infinitely extensible manner no less. With its myriad of complex mechanics, I could see Shadows of Doubt falling victim to the same issues that other immersive sims have had getting off the ground. The scope of the gameplay systems and insane density of the world could be off-putting to some, thus is the nature of the immersive sim curse, I guess. More complexity and more detail often lead to diminishing returns, but I hope that given all of what Shadows of Doubt brings to the table, that maybe this one will be different. Now, this is by far the longest video I've ever made just talking about one single 90-minute demo, but even within this limited time frame, there is just so much to talk about, and even more that I can't wait to get back into the game and explore and test the limits of further. I'm going to leave this video off with a few highlights of my couple playthroughs of the demo, but first, an anecdote. One of my favorite films of all time is Synecdoche, New York. It tells the story of Caden Cotard, a theater director who receives a grant to make the production of his dreams. He buys a warehouse in New York City, and within the warehouse, he sets out to build a massive replica of New York City and all the life within it. The production grows to a ridiculous and unbelievable scale, with the lines between people's real lives and their involvement in Caden's play being blurred. And yet, he's never satisfied and never feels like his work is done. In one of the most important and moving scenes in the film, a priest at a funeral, a character that has had essentially zero screen time up to this point, briefly becomes the main character of the story and gives a speech that ties together many of the themes of the film. He says, "Everything is more complicated than you think. You only see a tenth of what is true, and there are a million little strings attached to every choice you make. You can destroy your life every time you choose, but maybe you won't know for 20 years, and you may never trace it to its source, and you only get one chance to play it out." He goes on, but this speech has stuck with me in my life, and it was hard not to think of it and this film while I was playing and writing about Shadows of Doubt. Even with all its little seams and imperfections at the moment, even in this state, I don't know that I've ever seen such an impressive simulation of life in a game. At least not that you can just exist in and immerse yourself in, and even interact with on an extremely personal level. Games have certainly tried to capture this feeling before, and while you can maybe momentarily believe that you're in a realistic future city while wandering the streets of Night City and Cyberpunk, you can't speak to everyone. You can't go to their home or their place of employment. They walk out of your view and they disappear forever. Literally. Even renowned immersive sims that do offer experiences like this really just serve them up like slices of pie, rather than simulating the whole of everything behind the scenes. The truth is that for most games, the facade matters way more than the reality. And as long as you can believe on a surface level that you're in a place filled with life, the lack of any depth behind that facade doesn't really matter if it has no bearing on gameplay. Not only does Shadows of Doubt beautifully capture that idea of a million little strings connected to everything, but it's effortlessly intertwined with the gameplay, both metaphorically and quite literally. And the earnest effort behind this makes your interactions and decisions much more meaningful because they actually have impacts in the grand scheme of things. Synecdoche, New York, in addition to being a microcosm of life, tells a tale of unchecked ambition. Caden gets so lost in his idea that he forgets to stop and appreciate what he has. He's so obsessed with perfection and a moving goalpost of completion and fulfillment that he never recognizes that he has built something beautiful in the process. To me, I don't think the message of this movie is that it isn't worthwhile to pursue ambitions, but rather that successes and failures and the journey that gets you to each one of them are all part of something bigger. Life. As someone who considers themselves a creative, between my former profession in architecture or my new path with content creation, legacy is a nebulous concept that I've spent far too much time worrying about. If my ideas and projects are all ambitious, my successes are fewer and farther between, and my failures feel more meaningful. It's easy to get caught up in this mindset, especially when something like YouTube almost gamifies it. It gives you ample reason to overvalue successes for which there are no real underlying reasons, and beat yourself up over failures that are only failures because, well, the faceless algorithm said so. At risk of dragging this out and making the video far too much about me and not bringing it back, I've often felt that the best art causes us to learn things about ourselves, whether intentional or not. And to what I've been able to experience of Shadows of Doubt, I will bestow that highest honor. It's hard for me not to appreciate the ambition here and honestly reflect on my own ideas and ambitions within what I do as a result. There's no real way to transition out of this segment that won't be awkward, so thank you for watching through my more or less off-topic ramblings. I'm going to leave you with a few random highlights of my time with Shadows of Doubt's demo. Some coming from my initial experience with the game, which occurred on my stream, and others coming from a playthrough I did off-stream. You can find that stream playthrough on my second channel. It ultimately led to a dead end, probably due to my own fault for not quite having a full grasp on all of the mechanics and options that I had at my disposal. But the off-stream playthrough actually led to a solved case, with many twists and turns along the way. I've pieced together all the best bits of this playthrough and uploaded it for my patrons of any tier to enjoy. Seriously, this one was a lot of fun, and was where a lot of the potential of the game clicked for me. So consider backing the Patreon and checking this bonus video out if you're interested in this game. Thanks for watching and enjoy these brief highlights from these two playthroughs. Oh fuck. Get up there. Get in! How do I get in? I'm dead. Okay, I need to like drag something over potentially. Air vent. Enter. Okay, yeah. So, like, I don't think this is good either. I mean... Oh. Does that person see me? They're fighting. Get out, please. How do you not see me? Could I, like, throw something? Okay, this is just a couple fighting. Tell me she's not going into the kitchen. No, storm off into the bedroom or something. Please. Oh, fuck, dude. Hi. Locked! I just want to get out. Just let me- I don't want to be here any more than you want me here. I can't figure out this combat. Bro. I'm gonna die. Oh, wait, what? I don't wanna fight you. I just wanna leave. I was so close. Wait, the door's open! We're gonna just jump. Did I take fall damage? I'm alive, somehow. This has to be her apartment, right? The question is, am I gonna just be spit out right into the middle of... Okay, I'm in like a bedroom or something. Okay. Print scanner out. Let's prioritize getting her prints. They gotta be on something, right? Type C. Okay. It could be someone else. Am I in the wrong apartment? I might just be in the wrong fucking apartment. Fingerprint type D. Type D. Okay. Type D. Okay, I'm not finding any new fingerprints. I might just want to get out of here. I'm just gonna get out. Is there any way to sneak past this person? They sure do be just standing there. Yeah, I'm not in a great state, am I? Oh, fuck me. I'm in the bathroom. I'm in the bathroom. There is a vent. This is gonna be awkward if they come in. Oh, there is a stool. Will this get me up there? I don't think it will. Oh my god, it does. Whoa, what? Okay, that was weird. God, for being like a low poly voxel game, the atmosphere of this game really is incredible. That said, I have gotten nowhere with this murder mystery. If anything, I have made a lot of people's lives worse. There has been an awful lot of collateral damage, with many people dying. Hello. All in the process, even if I did get just an inch closer to solving this murder, I don't think it would be worth it. Because the net negative of me even beginning to investigate this in the first place has way outweighed any of the positive. So all that said, I think I'm the best detective of all time, and none of you can prove otherwise. Was it 2651? Okay. Why is this clipped into the... This actually could be a little bit of a problem. I can't actually, like... I can't see it. It's clipped into the wall. I don't think I can get... Let's see. Is any of this useful to us? I'm literally just reading spam. Hi, honey bunny. Don't forget to pick up milk on the way home, from Claudia Pennell. God, it's just conversations with his wife. Fish at affordable prices? I don't think Eric has anything for us. Are we in the right place? No, we're not. We're not even in the arms dealer. I'm snooping on someone else's shit here. I mean, lunch break? What time is it? I'll prepare to climb into the vent in case I need to. We're gonna open the vent in case I need to get out. Okay, 7:45 a.m. Wait, that wouldn't make any sense though. 4th floor. I mean, we could check the footage from when he died, right? Like, that would help. Let's go to the 11th floor. Wonderful. Oh, that's me. Is that me? Is that me? Oh, okay. Could it be this easy? I mean, it would be nice if I could find fingerprints, no? Gotta be some, huh? Oh. Oh, baby. Type C as well. Could be roommate? perhaps? Does she live with someone? God, I'm about to run out of time. I hate this. I hate this because I'm so close. The apartment seems empty. Hi. Bye. Locked. Why do you have a vent in your shower, Ashanti? Okay, I'm in combat now. Wonderful. The only thing I know how to use. Can I just knock you out? Pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Oh, fuck. I don't know what to do. I never know what to do in combat in this game. I just want to get back in the vent. Okay, you're breaking glass, Ashanti. Kinda rude. Ooh, we knocked her out. Okay, okay, okay. Unknown citizen. Could you be Ashanti? Very possibly. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I don't think I'm gonna make it. Oh! Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Is this how it ends? Is this how it ends? Oh my god. A civilian with a gun. Go, 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 go. City Hall, City Hall, City Hall. I'm done. I'm done for. Oh, dude. I thought I had it.
Hit that like
This is
button.
alright.
Smash that bell, hit that bell button, hit
Destroy my pussy.
Subscribe to Dumper Man.